Philipp Krohn von der FAZ.
I'd like to welcome the moderator of the next panel, Philipp Krohn from the FAZ newspaper, Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung.
So ein großes Thema in einer Viertelstunde.
Well, that's a huge topic, and we only have 15 minutes time. Oh, that's life. The topic of trust that we just heard in the keynote speech is also associated with how you place trust, or how the people of Circular Valley are experiencing trust. We didn't talk about what we're going to discuss now. I just sent an email to H.A. Schultz and asked him whether we should discuss a narrative. Art and narrative are closely connected, and I'd like to welcome H.A. Schultz. And then we still have Max Neufeind, a person who has spoken here several times, head of the Transformation Division at the Federal Chancellery. A warm welcome to you. And I'm sure that Carsten Gerhardt will tell us at some time that how much time we have. Art and narrative are closely interlinked. Without concepts and ideas, you don't have art. You've been dealing with the environment for many years, practically since you've been working as a public artist. To what extent do you see a change in the area of how we think about the environment and how art can help create a good image for the environment? Well, I see a very good image now because the wonderful minister has cried out for help, and I hope you're going to follow suit and you're going to look forward, be optimistic and not too negative. Because my friend Carsten Gerhardt said that I've been working in this area for 60 years. 1968, I was in Munich. Willy Brandt and the former Lord Mayor Vogel and my friend Holger Emke were at a forum, and by the way, I'm a political migrant, and I had fled from Eastern Germany, and I said, you should make the environment a topic because the environment will determine politics. And then my friend said, shut up, we know that too, but we want a chancellor. Well, if you want to become a chancellor, you're not allowed to say the truth. And I'm so happy that she told you the truth, because here, 50 years later, in the the strongest state of Germany, and we are still allowed to live in peace. Did you? That completes it. Did you have a more specific question? Well, I have to pick up the ball and throw it over to Max Neufeind. We heard the catchword chancellor, and of course the narratives are completely different than in the late 60s. At the time we had to create awareness. Now it's about a huge global phenomenon and how we can create industrial value. But at the end of the chancellor's term in office, we will still have to achieve a green transformation that nevertheless also creates wealth. When Carsten Gerhardt and I talked about whether I should talk about art, I thought of art. Well, art as visual arts or fine arts. But I think transformation means and needs confrontation. When we met last time, our dialogue was very constructive, and we created a lot of ideas. What we tried to do as a government is to make things specific, and to make sure that they can also be discussed and that we have confrontation. We knew that we would have to create one football field of PV systems each day to achieve the targets. Or like when Marina Abramovich simply sits somewhere and creates confrontation. I think we need confrontation. Number two, and we just talked about that, having positive visions for the future. What is the future about? Maybe we in the government weren't good enough in doing that. I love to be here because I have the feeling that this is very specific, forward-looking, circular valley, circularity. Well, art can also demonstrate that. If you think of the 1,000 oak trees of Beuys, if you want to achieve something in politics, you have to be better in describing how a good future can look like. In the panels, we talked a lot about China and how change can be steered. And I thought about the sunflower seeds of Ai Weiwei. And of course, transformation has something to do with ambivalence and how such a change can be steered. Is that by a democracy or top-down steering? At the end of the day, as a political class in Germany, we are searching for the right mode. What's the right steering rationale for achieving what we want to achieve? Dictatorship, well, that wouldn't be my approach. If a strength that we have in Germany, well, the strength in Germany also, or in Europe, also means what we see here. We can come together and develop something together. And to a certain extent, we tried to do this in the German government's coalition. We also saw how difficult it is, but I can't see any other way forward than this one. Ms. Neubauer, or maybe you could give us some input first, and I can also comment on that. The Chancellor's bungalow gave us so much strange information. We could talk about that for days. You in the Chancellery's office have to do a lot of work, and we artists asked you to do that, and you didn't do a good job. And now we have a lady from a region from the federal state of North Rhine-Westphalia who's telling the truth. And also, by the way, the Circular Valley. And the Reitman company is missing. They created gold from waste. They became the richest people, but then the politics didn't put the environment at the top of the agenda. And then the companies started investing in environmental protection and are making a lot of money with that. And you shouldn't say anything about art. You don't even understand anything about politics. I'm not here to say that time's up. I'm only here to say that all of you on the panel, we all have the same objective, and it may sound confrontational, but it probably isn't intended. Well, I also had a quite dramatic comment as well. Okay, I only have 15 minutes. It would be too difficult to moderate and be controversial at the same time. Now, how do we create positive images of what sustainability is supposed to be? Circularity and the metaphor of self-images, biodiversity, but climate change is always associated with negative associations, and that's difficult to grasp. It's not tangible. Carbon emissions, when somebody writes about pollutants that are being emitted, people tell us, well, carbon emissions are not pollutants, that are not dirty as such. Well, let me talk about my day yesterday that started very nicely. In the Ministry of Economics in North Rhine-Westphalia, we also have an Energy for Climate, an agency that provides consultancy services to the government and to municipalities and helps them become climate neutral. But they also produce documents, information material for schools, for kindergartens, and I visited a primary school because they participated in the Climate Starter project and dealt with the topic of how what carbon emissions are all about, why they are emitted, and what they lead to, and what you could do. And what these children, first grade to fifth grade, told me was, yeah, we are experts now. We heard that poisonous chemicals are emitted by factories. Please shut down factories. Well, we're not going to do that, but this demonstrates the positive image that you could develop and how a climate-neutral industry can operate. Considering the current situation, politicians should not focus on narratives mainly, but to engage in a dialogue with those who are in charge of implementing. We've just realized that there are a lot of loose ends, and that's not only the responsibility of the previous federal government, but the geostrategical situation. And what happens if you can't just get 70% of raw materials from Russia? And how are we in the Federal Republic of Germany, since we're quite unique in Germany because we were very dependent, how are we going to position ourselves? And the willingness of the economy, of the industry to embark on this path, these things have to be brought in line. I'm a member of the Green Party, and you probably also know that we have a party convention ahead of us, and Robert Habeck would like to become our candidate as a chancellor. Nevertheless, I would like to address the Energy Act, the Building Energy Act. Many people believe that the federal government wanted to achieve too much too quickly, but that might not have been the right answer. If climate protection is not just something abstract as carbon emissions, but rather the measures taken to reduce emissions and to use new types of heating systems, people were too specific about the details. That was the problem. The representatives in democracy need a lot of trust that they're able to solve these large, complex problems, and that they trust. It's important to trust the companies, to agree on mutual targets, and apart from that, to also be willing to embark on detours and give the how and the ways and means to the companies. And I'm very grateful for your emotional comment and confrontational comment. Well, that's what he wanted. I've realized time and again that what is happening in North Rhine-Westphalia in order to reduce carbon emissions in industry is, when it's measurable, mostly associated with the fact that we're not producing that much currently, and not that climate reduction, that climate technologies are the reason or the cause. In my opinion, the targets should be much higher. The society is, of course, also involved, and if you, apart from that, could simply design everything in theory, then you would have to simply make targets stricter. But the industry should also say, and considering all the discussions that we have, if you leave us alone in climate protection, if you want to keep this topic out of the discussion, then you're not addressing the most relevant item. So we still have 2.5 minutes for 2 more questions.
So you talked about the 60s and the controversies, and we also saw the picture of the pollution in the environment and nuclear power and so on, and the protests against it. How should the picture look like today? Well, the environment takes place in the head, and the minister told us that very nicely, but to the point, everyone should be addressed and feel addressed, but who addressed you? We artists in the 60s, long before the Club of Rome, long before of this wonderful colleague, Petra Kelly, I love very much, founded this party, and you see, this is the young woman who manages it, and she should continue to do too. But my generation drove the world against the wall, and you have to change something there. Now, Mr. Neufeld, what would you like to see from the artists scene to achieve more sustainability and regenerative acting? Well, we just saw that the government failed, the Great Coalition broke apart, and it doesn't mean that the progress has come to a stop. We must make it concrete, rather, and because we are at a tipping point, and it needs representatives from art to tell us that we continue with the progress. And maybe some things were not made well and were not explained sufficiently good, but doing away with progress would be the worst thing that we could, not only for the environment but also for the geo-economic standpoint, and more cannot be done by artists, actually, I'd say, and policy. Well, progress will not be removed by politics. We have Peter Foster here, and a picture is here. We have some of these pictures also in the middle. Imagine that you come to the economic ministry and go to meeting rooms, and there you see these pictures hanging, and you will be irritated and think, what is going on in this ministry? But it makes clear, hopefully, that we have a society of consumption. We have the economic circles that are not at their best, but require urgent changes. This question of transformation is not a question that decides a policy, but the question, where does progress happen? What happens in transformation? How disruptive is it? Is there a way to help transformative processes? It's not only the consequence of a loss of species or the climate. The question is if policy dares to make policy and saying this is not a force of nature, it's something where we can act. This is the point. A confident manner of acting, not policy, makes the progress, but shapes the framework with the values of a constitution, of a European Rights Convention, so that our citizens, our economy can work in these transformative processes and get out of it as winners, not by elbows, but by solidarity. It's all bought. Yeah, all bought. Yeah, I buy that. But still, we shouldn't be so ingenious as to say that there wouldn't be political actors whose goal it is to do away with transformation. I think that's very clear. Yeah, we can't do no more, otherwise we won't eat anymore. But still, I would like to think about narratives, every one of you, because I think it's has a lot to give, and maybe we can discuss it again, but certainly it will remain a point of discussion during the course of the day. And for now, I wish you a good lunch break and enjoy. All right. I can assure you, the last years I had the opportunity to talk to all four panelists in different situations. Max Neufeld, I was very impressed by the clarity with which you talked about the transformation process in the Chancellery. A great work has been done and is still being done. So HA, thank you very much. You started and for more than 60 years ago, when you said, here the mountains of waste start to build up, and everyone who has been here shares the same vision